this week's Parsha are in Rebecca's stomach, right? Now, she doesn't know at this point she has twins. She thinks she has schizoid, because on the one hand, she walks by the Beit HaMidrash, and the little baby wants to come, and the other hand, he walks by Avodah Zarah, and the little thing wants to come out, until finally she learns, no, there are actually two people in her stomach, right? One is Yaakov, and one is Esau. Let's take a little interesting look at this. We're going to bring in an amazing Gemara from Nida on this as well. Gemara, first of all, the Rashi brings there that every time she walked by the Beit Midrash, or Torah study hall, Yaakov wanted to get out. Every time she walked by a house of idolatry, Esau wanted to get out. Now, what's the classic way we always learn that? You know, it's kind of like the Flintstones, right? You got the little Fred Flintstone with a halo and the little one with a horn. So there's good guy Yaakov, woohoo, I want to go learn in yeshiva. And then there's bad guy Esau, wow, I want to go worship idols and so on. That's how we learn it. We have a big problem with that. And that is, we know that there is no evil inclination in the womb. The evil inclination only begins at birth, not in the womb. In fact, just the opposite. We know that when a baby, Gemara Nida, is inside of its mother, it actually has a little, today we call it a GoPro, but in those days it was a little candle that sat on his head that enabled him to see from one end of the universe to the other. Who else had that power? Adam, the first man. So every human being is like Adam himself, is the human of all humans. So he has, or she has, this little candle that allows him or her to see from one end of the universe to the other. Not only that, he has an angel who teaches him the entire Torah. And you probably all remember that the minute the baby's about to be born, the angel pops him in the lip, puts that little groove, and everything is forgotten. And that's why if you ever have Google Translate for babies, when you hear the baby first being born, you're like, wah, wah, wah. Really translates it, what the, right? Because it's like, where am I? What happened? Right? So that power, however, until it's born, it's perfect. Halavai. I don't know if you remember the George Carlin. Can I quote him in the Beit Midrash? Okay. I remember the George Carlin piece where he says, if I was God, I would do just the opposite. You'd be born really old, right? And then it goes all the way back until you die inside the womb, like reverse the whole process. But anyhow, at that moment, that's like, it doesn't get better than there. It's downhill from there. A womb with a view. And so you have this struggle of Yaakov and Esau, and they're both angelic. So what does Rashi mean? How about this? Yeah, Rashi meant exactly what he said, but he didn't mean what we interpret. Rashi meant that when he came to the study hall, Yaakov wanted to go learn Torah. That's his job. He's to bring spirituality in this world. He is the Osei Tov. And when it came to the house of idol worship, yeah, Esau wanted to go there. But you know what he wanted to do? He wanted to burn it down. Esau's pure essence is to rid the physical world of evil. And when Esau is together with Yaakov as one, that's how they unify. Esau is the power to feed the world. He's the power to organize commerce that no one should, any religion or race on our planet should suffer or be hungry or should be without a home. And at the same time, he's being fed the spiritual energy that Yaakov is supposed to be. They were a tag team. That's what Rashi's telling us. And I'll show it to you a little bit further. Rivka goes to the Navi. She wants to find out, qu'est-ce que c'est, what's going on here. So Rashi says she wanted to know Ma'yeh b'sof. What? Ma'yeh b'sof? How about just Ma'yeh? What will be? What's happening? Why does Rashi tag on this word end? Sof. What do you mean she wanted to know what will be in the end? I mean, okay, so the simple language will be, as we kind of stumble through Rashi, means what's going to be the end of my pregnancy? What's going to come out of me? But Rashi goes further, and therefore when you see when Rashi goes further, that can't be that she's just talking about her pregnancy. She really means what's going to be in the end of days from these two children. And how do we know that? Because when she's told she has two sons, Rashi does not say you have two sons, Esau and Yaakov. And Rashi is Mr. Pshat. Why doesn't Rashi just say Pshat? You have two sons? Okay, Yaakov and Esau. Rashi comes out of left field. And he says, who are those two kids in you? One is Rebbe Yehuda Hanassi, known as Rebbe, and the other is Antoninus, right? Caesar Rome. What? Those two people are thousands of years into the future. This is what Rivka is worrying about right now, that these will be? And the answer is yes. Rashi is telling us an amazing thing. Rashi is telling us that when will you see the unity that you feel inside of you right now, that Yaakov and Esau inside the womb are angels and they're in a perfect harmony of working together? You will see it in the period between the relationship of Rebbe and Antoninus. And the Gemara is saturated with the love, mutual love, between the two of them. So therefore, we have an example of the epitome of Esau and Israel living in incredible harmony, manifest in this idea of them. Now, we're going to take one step back one step forward, and we're going to see that now jumping into Parshas Vayishlach, and Yaakov is now coming back with his wives and his kids and so on. There's an amazing event that happens. We're going to go into the Rashi there where he brings up Shimon Bar Yochai, but for the minute, let's first look at the verse. The verse says that all of a sudden, Esau comes and greets Yaakov. It says he sees him, he runs to greet him, he hugs him, he falls on him, he kisses him, and he cries. Without going to Rashi for a minute, that's the simple event. And we are going to see, because everyone, including the Gemara, talks about this, and we're going to end the class with like an amazing little piece of Kabbalah that at least blew my mind, and I hope it'll do the same for you as well. But we find that Yaakov somehow was able to convert Esau into his friend. In other words, maybe we will go to the Rashi for a minute. The question in the Rashi is, did he really kiss him with a full heart or not? Okay, so Shimon Bar Yochai says, yes, you're right. According to those people who say he didn't, we know that it's a given that Esau hates Yaakov, but at this moment, he loved him. And Rashi builds us up before we get to that Rashi with an earlier Rashi, which in the same verse says that Esau, in his heart, was touched by, he saw how many times Yaakov bowed before him. He was touched by the heartfelt gesture of Yaakov trying to connect with him. Okay, now let's take a look at this. This is my friend Michael Kagan sort of put this idea out. I was really kind of blown away by it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's a very beautiful kind of an approach, and I'd like to share it with you. So when in the early days of the two of them growing up, Esau is really a man. He is a man of this world. Averas and mitzvahs and so on and so on. He is out there. He is a power man. He's wearing Adam's clothes, which he killed Nimrod and took from Nimrod, because Nimrod, when I say Adam's clothes, this is the clothing God made for Adam and Eve when they left the Garden of Eden. So it passed down, Nimrod got it, Esau killed Nimrod, and he took it. So he's wearing the clothing of the first man himself. And as he's wearing this clothing of the first man, he's now in a situation where he sees his little brother. His brother is mama's boy, right? He's got dad's love. And I don't know about girls, but certainly by boys always want dad's love. They always want to feel that dad approves. And here his brother Esau gets all the love, all the approval. It's only his mother that loves him, which is nice. Okay, fine, not going to make light of mom's love, but it's not what guys normally want to feel that they're another guy, that they've achieved this. And he's not only is he a mama's boy, he stays home all the time, or he's in yeshiva all the time. He's a cook, right? He's not a warrior, he's a cook. And perhaps he even shares jealousy. Perhaps there's something in Yaakov that's really jealous of Esau. Why was he cooking red lentils? Why not clear broth? Why not miso? Why did it have to be red per se? Because Esau, Edom, was always red. Maybe there was something in this soup that somehow Yaakov thought, maybe this is my magic potion. If I could drink the red soup, because you are what you eat, I could become like Esau. And at one point he even dresses like Esau. He puts on Esau clothing. But this was Yaakov. This was Yaakov who on the surface appears to be clever, tricky, deceptive. Let's talk about this. Why couldn't Yaakov just approach Esau and sit down and have a conversation about what is the value of the firstborn and why, since Esau isn't interested in this, let's just do this up front. And why, when it was time for the blessings, why couldn't there have been a family meeting? Everyone comes together, everyone puts the chips on the table. Why did it have to be where the image of us as Jews, as cheaters, as Shylocks, and all these other images was hara? Why did that have to be what we project into this world through the face of Yaakov? And we know that the face of Yaakov is so holy, it's one of the 4 faces of God's throne. And not only is it one of the 4 faces of God's throne, but we know of all the attributes that we attribute the attribute of Emet to Yaakov. Yaakov's supposed to be the epitome of Emet. And suddenly his whole perception is as a liar and as a cheat. So what's happened now? All of a sudden, Esau, what does he see? Remember, they're twins. What does Esau see when he sees Yaakov coming back from the house of Lavan? He sees himself. He says, whoa, my brother's grown up. He's got 4 wives, not 1. I've got 4 wives. He's got wealth and money and power, and he's been in the field. He now knows what it's like to be a grunt, to be in the trenches. He knows what it's like to work in the hardships of the winter and all. He's no longer hanging out. He's not a mama's boy anymore. He's like me. Yo, Yaakov, let's go do beers. Right? There you are. Suddenly he sees himself. But Yaakov says, no, I'm not you. I'm more than you. I'm Israel. I have learned how to combine Yaakov and Israel into one. I have a person, a whole person. And because I'm a whole person, when Esau says, Yeshli harbeh, I have a lot, Yaakov answers, says, Yeshli kol, I have everything. Now, in contrast, Esau was much more powerful and much richer. But Esau's focus was the disease of it's never enough. In fact, the Gemara says that this term, harbeh, the Gemara says that word alone is the word that destroys this world. Because the emphasis of I have a lot is about what I still don't have. So even if I have everything, but I don't really have the last little drop, I am humming and everybody bows to me. But one freaking little Jew, Mordechai, so what? No, I can't live if Mordechai doesn't bow, because I need 100%. And that can never be satiated. In fact, this is the death of Esau. We know the famous story that when Yaakov is being buried and Esau comes and says, no, I have the place in the Machpelah. So there was the grandson of Dan who was deaf, didn't know what was going on, took his 4x4, bam, pops Esau in the back of the head. His eyes, the Gemara says, popped out of his head and landed on Yaakov's chest. And Yaakov, who was dead, suddenly opens his eyes, sees Esau's eyes, and laughs. This is the Gemara. Verbatim. Okay? What is going on? Well, there are 2 ways to have your eyes. There's the famous story of Alexander when he comes to the Garden of Eden, the Gemara in Tummy, you might be familiar with. It's the amazing stories of Alexander and going all around the world, battling in Africa. And finally he comes to the Garden of Eden, he's pounding on the door, I am the king of the world, open the door. They're like, buzz off, dude, you're only a mortal. Hey, I came here, buzz off. Okay, can I at least get a t-shirt? I visited Garden of Eden, all I got was so the little like windows, like slide windows open, and they threw out an eyeball. What? I visited Garden of Eden, all I got was this eyeball. So the eyeball was alive. He didn't know what to do with it. The Gemara says he put the eyeball on a scale, and as he put gold on the other side of the scale, the more gold, the heavier the eye. The gold would go up, and the eye would come down. And no one could explain the riddle to him until he went to the rabbis, and the rabbis took dirt and they put it over the eye, and the scale went the other way. And the lesson is that an eye that looks for gold will never be satisfied until it's dead. The dirt over the eye is the symbolism of somebody who is dead. And in contrast, like the blind beggar from Rabbi Nachman's 7 Beggars, the blind beggar who wasn't really blind at all, he was just blind to this world. He only saw that which was really visible, like the deaf beggar. The deaf beggar only heard holiness. In fact, this is why if you know the word Rash Gadol, which means a great noise, is the numerical value of 613. Because the only noise in this world that's any noise is holy noise. So the deaf beggar was just deaf to all of this noise. But to the real holiness he heard. The blind beggar didn't look at this world because, as he said about himself, I'm already dead, but I haven't been born. Because there's nothing in this world that's worth looking at. But to see that which is holy, one can see even after they're dead. So Yaakov, who never died, Yaakov lo met, so even when he was dead, his eyes could still open and see the eyes of Esau. That's on one level. I'm going to hold that final level. Why did Yaakov laugh? Not very nice, correct? So why did he laugh? And we'll hold that to the end of the class in just a few more minutes. So therefore, what happens now is when Esau is encountering him, and there's this level of this coming to the next level of what was this encounter? How did he make him as his friend? So it says there that Reb Shimon says, Davar halacha, that we all know is a halacha, that Esau hates Yaakov. Now the Gemara says an interesting thing. The Gemara says, whenever there's a language of halachahi, it's the law, it means there was an argument, maybe not even in that area, it could be an argument on 3,000 other dapim away, who knows what. But now the Gemara is telling you that of that argument, here is the resolution. Where's there an argument? Who's arguing with Shimon? Who's arguing that Esau doesn't hate Yaakov? Who's arguing that the Gemara has to use this language? Okay, yeah, one guy says he doesn't, Reb Shimon says he does, and the law is Reb Shimon says he does. Okay, so nobody argues. So if nobody's arguing, why are we using the language halacha? And it's sort of funny, halacha, right? I mean, you can say mitziut, it's the reality, it's the nature, but halacha? I mean, like is it b'datz or is it only rabbanut? Well, I mean, what does it mean it's the halacha? So the answer is really an amazing thing. When we talk about machloket is like a machlaka. It's a department. It means this area as opposed to that area. So yeah, there's classical argument. Beis Hillel says you light candles 1 to 8. Beis Shammai says you light 8 to 1. But really, there's an idea that there are two different concepts. So really, what Reb Shimon is saying is that if we say that Esau hates Yaakov, that's in contrast to Esau, who loves Israel. And we know that hatred is a non-entity. Hatred, like cold, there's no such thing as cold. I mean, obviously you walk out in the winter, you don't say I'm absencing heat. But on a scientific level, cold is an absence of heat. In the same way that darkness, right? You don't have a little machine that like blows darkness into the room, right? Darkness is an absence of light. So hatred is an absence of love. Actually, the Baal Shem says a little bit further. He says that the opposite of hatred and love is apathy. That hatred is not the opposite of love. It is love, but it's frustrated. It's something where all that energy wants to be love, but for some reason the vessel to allow it to become love is not being provided. Could you just imagine this? Could you just imagine that in truth, how much the Palestinians love the Jews? I mean, you could say they love us to death, but I don't want to say that. But they love us. The world loves us. And how do you know? Because they're not apathetic to us. They don't ignore us. We're on their radar everywhere. And therefore, the only problem is that we have not converted ourselves into the vessel of being Israel that will give them that opportunity to turn their own hatred into love. It will happen, and we're going to get there. And here I'm going to show you something very interesting, and you'll see how this all ties into Kislev and Hanukkah as well. There were 8 blessings that Yitzchak had. 7 of them went to Yaakov, and the 8th one went to Esau. The blessing is symbolized by the numerical value of 26. So that's why I sort of pointed out earlier in the class this idea that it was a peace treaty between Rome and Israel for 26 years. So 26 is the name of Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the gematria of numerical value of 26. So each bracha was an ability to connect with the Shekhinah, with the divine presence, with Hashem in a various way. And the fact that Yitzchak has 8, here, would you like my word? Do you want this? I'm not drinking. Thank you. So the idea that he had 8, we know that the Balatorium, you want to see an amazing Balatorium, take a look at the last Balatorium in last week's Parsha, in Parsha's Hayei Sarah. It says there, what's the last verse, according to how, not how Art Scroll translated, but how Chazal sort of translated. I understand why they did that, because it's hard to understand, but the word really is, and Ishmael fell before all of his brothers. And the next verse is the start of this week's parsha, told us, Elu told us Avram Yitzchak. And the Balatorim there says that in the end of days, when Ishmael will fall, quickly in our days, and we know that the fall of Ishmael, brace yourself, is that he does tshuva and becomes a holy man and a holy people. And so when he falls from his arrogance and finds his inner self and does tshuva, immediately that's when Mashiach comes, because Mashiach comes in the merit of Yitzchak, the morning Shabbat. God comes into the Avot, he says, the merit of all your children has been used up. Avraham says, kill him. Yaakov says, kill him. Obviously, Marsha explains, meaning, you know what? They're having a hard time down there in the world. Just bring them up here to Gan Eden, we'll all party out. But Yitzchak says, no, I gave my life for these people. And therefore, bring Mashiach instead. So Yitzchak is about the one who brings Mashiach. Yitzchak, therefore, imbibes, right? He is the great laughter, the joke of it all, if you will. But Yitzchak imbibes the 8 brachas. These 8 brachas are the gematria. 26 times 8 is the gematria of Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the epitome of the 8. He's the infinite. He has the ability to see through everything and understand the resolution of the world and how it ultimately will resolve of Yaakov and Esau, his brothers, and Ishmael as a holy man. So he has that power. He wanted to give them all to Esau, because in the end, Esau is going to have the critical 8th bracha, the 8th candle of Hanukkah, Zot Chanukah, the completion of Yom Adin of Rosh Hashanah, which is Zot Chanukah. That's Esau. When Esau himself becomes illuminated, becomes the light. And that's why Esau's 8th bracha, if you will, is his head. That's why Yaakov laughed, because Yaakov was laughing the laughter of his father, whose very name is laughter. Because when he saw that Esau's head was also going to be in the Machpelah, he realized that the future of goodness, of the resolution of the world, was resolved. Because now with Esau's head and Yaakov's body, all the 8 brachas were reunited. So when he said this, Yaakov is 7 times 26. The gematria of Yaakov is 7 times 26. Yaakov got 7 brachas. That's his name, 7 times 26. Yitzchak had 8 brachas. What about Esau? So there's a word in Hebrew called tuma, tet mem aleph, which means impurity. Also is connected to the word atum, which means hidden. That in fact, everything which is impure in this world really has purity inside of it, but it's hidden from our eyes. So therefore, in the world we live in, we have to say this is pure, this is impure, but really everything is pure, but we can't live like that because we have to live in this world that we live. So therefore, there's a word called impurity. Now, the numerical value of impurity is 50. Right? We often talk about 50 as the Nun Shari Bina, the 50th gate of wisdom, but there's also an opposite gate, which is as much as the Nun Shari Bina of wisdom is the connection to the infinite, the 50th gate of impurity is game over. That's why it says that God had a sort of rush coming out of Egypt, because we were already at the 49th level. Had we entered the 50th, we would have never come out. That would have been it. Game over. Maybe someone else would have come out, but that would no longer be the Jewish people. They would have been dissolved. It would be a new creation. But as the Jews to come out, we couldn't hit that 50. And that's why the gematria of Tuma is 50. So, let's look at Esau's name. This is all the way, by the way, I'm sharing with you, is Torah from the Makneh, who's one of the great commentaries on Gemara and Kedushin. And he's writing this when it talks about, in Gemara and Kedushin, I think it's on Kaftet Amabet, the 7-headed dragon of the Beit Midrash of Abaya. So there was a rabbi there who got up when this dragon appeared, and he bowed to God, and each time he bowed to God, one of the dragon heads fell off until he killed the dragon. So Esau, look at Esau. Esau has 7 times 50 plus 26 is the gematria of Esau. 7 levels of Tuma and 1 level of Shem Hashem. This is Esau. He's 8 parts. Yaakov's only 7 parts. Yitzchak knew this. Yitzchak knew that Esau intrinsically is greater than Yaakov. And that's why he thought he could pull off the redemption right away. Rivka was smarter. She knew it had to go the long way. But this capacity of Esau was 8 levels, whereas Yaakov was only 7 levels. So Esau has 8 levels. However, the first 7 are Tuma. 7 times 50. Each one of these are the 50 Tumas. And then the 8th one is 26. So how many times did Yaakov bow to Esau? 7 times. Each time Yaakov bowed to Esau, he was extracting one level of that tumah. So what he was actually doing was going into his brother and finding the way to rectify his brother, not abandoning him, not cursing him, not belittling him, but finding the way to elevate him so that once he had cleaned out these 7 levels of tumah, all that was left in Esau was Shem Hashem. And therefore, out comes the love, out comes the hugging, out comes the kiss. Because he really loved him with all of his heart. Because those things which separated Esau and Yaakov through the horror of hatred, because of the misunderstanding and the lack of our ability to convert from Yaakov into Israel, had now been fulfilled, where Israel had now reached that, the night before this battle, he had reached that level of becoming Israel, and therefore he could create that rectification. That rectification is, of course, what is the idea of the 8 candles of Hanukkah. And that's why this comes in the month of Kislev. Because the challenge of the Jew is to become the Yaakov, which converts into the Israel, which becomes the heart, which is the call, which is itself, call is Gematria 50. And so therefore, by the power of call, and the letters of call are Kaf and Lamed, it's the 2 aspects of intellectual. It's the aspect of K, which is the power of imagination, of understanding something, of similarities, of how they appear. And it's also the letter Lamed, which is the power to learn, learning from life. So Yaakov begins in the world of Ka, everything is like as if, and he converts it to the world of having gone through real experience and real knowledge. And that is call. That's the heart of a person. And when we're able to make that, we are able to convert even Esau into Achi, into our brother, and to be able to bring the 8 brachas together, which allows us in the month of Kislev to culminate that in Hanukkah, where we really bring that about. And here's the last point. This is the battle of the clothing of Adam. Who is the real man? In a dance in Rome, the man was all about this man standing on the cripple saying, we are the real man, and we're wearing the garments of Adam. Now, when was Adam created? Well, we know that he was created on Rosh Hashanah. But when was the world created? It was created earlier, 6 days, or Kaf Hey Elul, 25th of Elul. Now, in a perfect pregnancy, how long is a mommy pregnant? 9 months. So what is 9 months before? When did the inception of creation take place? Kaf Hey Kislev, the first night of Hanukkah. Oh. That was the night that the light came down into this world. And that's why Hanukkah becomes the ultimate rectification of showing the light of the miracle, which creates not only the world of nature, but also the world of the revealed miracle as well. So thank you very much. And oh.